Welcome back, everybody, to the CTH Podcast episode number 5. Wow, 5 already. Feels like we just started, but it's actually been a couple months now, which is crazy. Because it actually doesn't feel like it's been that long. But today, I mean, as always, but we have a very timely and a special guest for this episode. Joaquin Garcia Sanchez. Many know him as Kino, who has done extensive work with women's football in Spain, but football in general in Spain as well. But without a further ado, before I get into further introduction, I just wanted to have Kino to have a chance to say hello to our audience. Kino, how's it going? How are you? How's everything, my man?
Hello, Steven. Hello, Jong-un. 안녕하세요 to everybody. I remember my time in Korea, so I'm happy to be here with all of you. So now waiting for the conversation that we are going to have about football. Of course, I work with women, but also with men and all the ages, right. I think.
And Young-hun, you have a relationship with Kino. Yeah. He was actually your contact, and you introduced him to us. Tell us a little bit about the working relationship that you guys have.
Yeah, in 2015, and I was working in Valencia Academy. I was working with Gonzalo. He was there, and I was there. We are working, and Kino came to us, and Kino was the second coordinator of the academy, and he was also a head coach of under 18 team. So later he's gonna introduce himself, but he's a coach, but he's also professor of the right. University. So he has very specific knowledge for football, and I learned very very many things from him, and his time with my time with him made me better coach. So I enjoyed it. I learned many things from him. So maybe we can enjoy those knowledge over him.
Yeah, and before we let Kino introduce himself a little bit more, just to give a brief profile of him, he actually has a very extensive coaching experience in the youth academy at Valencia, dating back over 10 years, and then during a time when Levante's women's side was one of the strongest teams in Spain. They were going toe to toe with the likes of Barcelona, with the likes of Real Madrid. He was the head coach of Levante's women's team from 2017 to 2019. Is that right, Kino?
Yes, 2 seasons.
Yeah, and not only that, on top of all of that, he's done a lot of scholarly work within football, which we find to be very, very interesting. So we'll get into all of that. But Kino, in your own words, we want to hear a little bit. How would you introduce you? It seems like you've had multiple roles within football, many different roles. You've done a lot of different work, both on the pitch, off the pitch, also in classrooms, I should say, more research, a lot of research work as well. Give us an introduction of yourself in your own words. How would you introduce yourself?
Steve, the other day I was speaking with somebody. I said, the reality is that I am a football coach. Because, of course, I work in different roles, teaching, directing, making sport direction also. But at the end, I'm a football coach. In the pitch is the place I feel more comfortable. Now I'm working in an office because I'm now the president of the coaches committee in my region. It's important charge in the football, but both in the politics aspect. Also, I'm the director of the UEFA courses in Valencia, Alicante, and Castellón. So now I'm also in this part of teaching. And also I'm the coach of the team of our region that competes in the UEFA Regions Cup. That is like a international tournament with players of our region. It's not like the national team. It's like the sport. It's like a small regional team with players from third division. So now I'm making a lot of things. Of course, I also related to the scholarship work because I have a PhD in football. I work for the university. I'm still giving some classes, but it's true that it's online because my last adventure coaching was in India, in the Indian Super League. So I had to give the classes online. I couldn't attend the classes, of course. And now I continue because my role in the Spanish Federation grow. So I have no time for going to the university to give classes, but I still have some time to do some online classes. And now, thank you for the invitation. Of course, thank you, Jong-un. Thank you for having me here. It's also always a pleasure for me to speak with my friends in Korea. I have really good memories of that time there. I don't know if Steve Jong-un told you that I have one dog from Korea.
Yeah,
You have a dog from Korea.
Yeah, I bring a dog from Korea to Spain. I found him on the street, and now 9 years later, he's still with me. A Jindo gay I have in Spain.
Might be the only dog. Might be the only dog in Spain.
He's the only Korean dog in my neighborhood.
Only Korean dog in Spain is with Kino in Spain. But speaking of his experience in Korea, I forgot to mention this. He was also involved extensively as the head coach at the Valencia Academy in Korea when it was there in between 2015 and 2016. So we find that to be very interesting as well. But you've mentioned that you identify yourself as a football coach first and foremost, but you're working in an office now because of your role, which I think makes this question very fitting. So, there's always a big debate within football, the analytics versus the field experience. You've kind of deeply invested yourself in both of them, it looks like, but you did just mention that you do identify yourself more as a field guy, as a football coach. So what's your opinion on this debate? Which side do you see yourself being more closer to? I'm assuming it's more closer to the field experience based on what you've just told us, but how would you kind of explain this?
No, sometimes it's life. Life puts you in some situations that you have to adapt. When I started coaching with a team of 8 years old boys, I didn't expect to live my life thanks to football. So I love football, I like football, but I didn't expect to be a professional coach or now working in football as professional, I don't know the name, in the office. So of course I prefer to be on the pitch, but nowadays I'm trying to help coaches to have better conditions, to have better knowledge, to have better competitions, and I can release my part of football coach when I with the regional team, so I can make both. And also in my role here in the federation, I'm the methodology coordinator of the team of under 14, under 16, and under 12. Of my region, that we select the players from Valencia, Levante, Villarreal, Elche, Castellón. So we select the best players of these ages. So I'm in contact with the coaches and with the training, so I can have good time in the pitch. But now I'm on the office. But maybe next year I'm in another time in a team. During this season I have some good offers. Because my life in this moment I couldn't accept, but maybe during this season I have another offer and I go another time to India, Africa, Europe, or maybe Korea. I don't know. So of course, as a coach, you have to have your luggage ready because maybe you receive a call and you have to leave. But of course, I'm really happy in the federation now. I'm really happy with my job. But who knows? I'm still young to only be in an office.
You talked about the methodology aspect that you were involved in at the under 12, under 13, under 14 level at Valencia. Our good friend Gonzalo was also on this show and for our second episode, and he also talked about that a little bit because he was involved in the methodology department of Valencia in the past. Mm-hmm. What I find interesting about what you said is at such a young age, like under 12, under 14, when you speak about methodology in terms of their development, what goes into creating a methodology for players at that age for them to develop? What kind of work goes into kind of setting that up so the players can develop and grow?
For me, the most important in this age is not about the tactical aspect, that is important as well. It's about the kind of behaviors that you want that your players show on the pitch. This is the most important thing. So which kind of player do you want to have on the pitch? About you want a player that is only strong, you want a player that play long, you want a player that you want to go 1v1. So it's creating some exercises, some environments that make that the players act in the way that you want that you act in the pitch. If you want that your team have good decisions, you need to put tasks that make that the players have good decisions. It's not, okay, I'm going to make a drill of passing. Okay, it's good for the technique, but maybe you can make that exercise, make some kind of concrete passes or specific passes, sorry, or you want that you make a task that you make specific movements to receive the ball. So this kind of behaviors that the players are showing in maybe a warm-up task, later you want that they show in a group task. For me, it's about the behaviors. It's not about if we play 1-4-4-2 or we play 1-2-3-4-5, whatever. The important is what kind of behavior, because you can play with what system offensively or defensively. It's going to depend on the behaviors of the players, and for that you need to create good tasks for that.
So you believe that between that age, 12 and 14, around there, a style of play for the individual player is established in that age group. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, because it's the golden age of learning. So during this age, you need that the players experience as most as possible situations when they can develop themselves. If you put that the task is too tight or you can only make one thing, the players, they are not going to learn how to solve problems that they are going to find on the future. So if you are to focus on the analytic work, all the control pass, shoot on goal, okay, that's important. Of course, you need the technique, but then you need to apply this technique in small set games, in a match, and you need to make that the players can express themselves. So for me, it's important the variety of the tasks, the variety of the situations, of course, and for me, more important, in the individual development of the player. It's not for me about I'm play as fullback, I need to know how to run in the side, how to cross. Of course, you need to know that. But in this age, it's most important to have contact with the ball, to make situation of passing the ball to a faraway teammate, to a close teammate, play situation defending 2v1, attacking 2v1. So for me, it's more important the development of the individual player in these ages. Of course, when they are 14 years, they need to know the tactics. Then you cannot focus in technique. You need to focus in tactics. But between this age, below 12 years old, even 13, for me, it's more important to develop the players in the technical aspects and individual tactic. The individual tactic, is how you use the technique for my own benefit. So you need to put this kind of exercises with them. No, sometimes we focus in all the technique. Okay, technique is so important. But if then you don't, for me, the clear example is the freestylers. You can have a freestyler that maybe technically is better than most of the players in first division. Then you put in a match and it's a disaster. So of course you need the technique. Under 12, of course you need the technique. If you cannot make a pass, you cannot play football. If you cannot make a good control, you cannot play football. If you cannot dribble with the ball, you cannot play football. But then you need to use this for an objective and a purpose. Is winning the game and winning your duels. So for me, that's all. When you go in under 14, okay, which kind of system we are going to play? Which is the specific movements of my position? What are the tasks I have to do if I'm a number 6 or I'm a number 8? But if you don't have a good background of all the technique that you need and all of different situations that you are going to face on a game, you cannot develop properly.
I think I have a perfect follow-up question to that. When we were preparing this this interview with you, with Younghun and I, we were speaking about the 4 pillars of football abilities that make up the larger component in a footballer. So let's for example, let's say a player who is getting on the ball is about to execute a play. We kind of broke this down into 4 different steps. First one is visual recognition of what's going on around you, the player on the ball. Number 2 is the situational awareness, in terms of space, what have you. Number 3 is the actual decision making. What am I going to do with the ball? And then comes number 4, technical execution of the play. I feel like the first 3 abilities are not really related to playing the ball, like you said, the technical aspect, or maybe you have a different theory on this that you could explain to us. Like especially the visual recognition and the situational awareness and things like that. But so are these 2 abilities coachable at youth level? That age group between 12 and 14.
Because, of course, because if you go to the theoretical aspect of the motor learning, that is one of the subjects I teach in the university. One of the most important thing is the experience. How do you have experience? By different situations that you are having, by repetition of the tasks. The experience is the key of the good players. Because of course, if I play football, I can see, of course, I can have a decision, of course, then I need to make a good execution. But what the science told us, that as much as experience a player or a sport people have, easy is going to find an answer. Because at the end, you say about the decision, the execution, but that execution is related to the decision, and that the decision is related to my experience. And my experience is related of how many times I've been in this situation. So, of course, it's coachable. It's coachable because if you put these players in a lot of different situations, they will have your brain has a path to your muscles, and this path can be training as well in having automatic answers. So if I have in a situation that if I have a pressing target from here and I have my teammate there, and I made it 100 times, I'm going to make it really quick. So, of course, it's coachable. Not about technique. It's about giving the player the experience enough to have a lot of answers to choose the correct one in the correct moment. So, for me, of course, it's coachable. So, it's because of that I was telling that put the players in different situations. Not about tactics. It's about put the players in different situations. What happens if I'm backwards with a player pressing me? Okay, if my experience say if I turn back, probably I'm going to lose the ball. So it's not a good option. Even I have the technique to do it. So my experience can make it, okay, I can make this pass. If I'm really talented player, maybe my experience tell, no, Kino, you can turn because you are good enough to turn. And it's because of that as a coach, you need to identify these different players. Maybe I have a player that cannot turn. So he needs the experience of making a mistake. So I can say, hey, my friend, you cannot do that. You put us in danger. But I have maybe a number 10 that is really good, and I say, hey, my friend, no, please, turn, beat the players, dribble with the ball, and make whatever you want. But this is the experience that the player has. So, of course, for me, it's learning. It's something that you can learn.
It comes down to experiencing different situations, being able to react effectively to different situations.
It's because of that, and it's something that I speak a lot with Jong-un when we were in the Valencia Academy in Korea, that sometimes you have that Korean players have incredible talent because they are they have a lot of discipline, they are really focused, they have commitment, they are really coachable, and they have really good technique because they are repeating some analytic drills constantly. So of course they have the technique, but then if you don't put that on the pitch, it's useless. Of course, you need the technique. And now it's something that we are having with Dong-un that we have in Korea. I was telling, now he's playing in Spain in a good team. He needs experience. You need experience, then that this technique, put that on the pitch. And we have players here from Korea that time that are now playing in Spain. I can say a lot. So, of course, it's coachable, but you need that to use it in different situations.
And another ability that we don't think gets talked about a lot, but we've been talking about it quite a bit in the last episodes, is emotional intelligence in football, especially at youth level. As a coach, what role do you play as a coach to make an impact on the players' emotions? I mean, would this aspect of coaching change depending on the age of your players? How does coaching impact a player's emotional intelligence?
I think a lot. It's a really interesting question because I think it's a lot. And in my experience now, because for me it's the same as a coach, you need experience and having different situations to adapt yourself. My opinion is that you cannot treat, not the age, individually each player. Even they are adults, you cannot treat the same one than another. So you need to have the ability of treating each one the way he or she deserves, depending on the situation. You cannot act always the same. For me, when I started, no, you have to act always the same, with everybody the same rules, same, no. And when you are growing up as a coach, you realize that not everybody is equal. You have to be fair, of course, and you have to use the justice in your decisions. But you cannot treat the same way one player than another. Maybe if I push one player, I'm going to make him better. But maybe if I push one player, I'm going to put him down. So you need to know, first of all, you need to know the player. After you know the player, you have to have the experience enough to know how to approach to this player. And I have experience of having big arguments with some players when I'm talking more in adults, really strong fights with some players, and at the end, he fights for the team. And sometimes you make that the player is out and he wants to destroy the team. So it's the emotional aspect, and today, if you see the professional clubs, they have a really, really big staff. A lot of them, they are putting a psychologist in the team to work in these aspects. And a lot of times the coach is more related in managing the team more than in technically or tactically aspects, because maybe he have 12 assistants. So he's focusing how is the relationship and how is the boundary between the players and the staff, because it's something is really, really important to have a success.
And your coaching career, it spans over 15 years in several different countries. I was informed. I was reading through your profile, and I read that you're currently a G23 member that's in charge of developing coaching methodology for UEFA.
Yes.
We find this to be fascinating, but we just couldn't look up enough information on it. And our friend Gonzalo obviously spoke a little bit about his work at Valencia, but could you explain this project to our audience a little bit more detail, because we find this to be very interesting.
Yeah, because now as a director of one of the UEFA academies in Valencia, in this case, working for the Spanish Federation, we need to, some years ago, when Jong-un came to Spain to study, we have a different curriculum of studies. A few years ago, we have to introduce ourselves in the UEFA curriculum to have a unified criteria in whole Europe and whole world. And Spain was a little different. No, Spanish people, we are sometimes a little different. So we have to adapt all this curriculum and make a new path for the students. A few years ago in Spain was level 1, level 2, level 3 courses for being a coach. And now we have to adapt and have the curriculum of UEFA C, UEFA B, UEFA A, and UEFA Pro. So we need to build this curriculum, build these subjects, build the contents of the different subjects of the different courses, and we need to adapt the level depending of the age the coach is going to act. If you go to UEFA C, that is the first level, they are going to coach usually in academy levels. So you need to teach things that they're going to be used to academy levels. If you go to UEFA, you have to speak not only about methodology, not only about physiology, not only about strength conditioning, also about how you're going to face a press conference. So you need to decide in which course, which subjects or which contents you are going to give to the students. Now I'm in charge of the courses in Valencia until UEFA A, because UEFA Pro goes only for the Spanish Federation, because they want that put only a few people in Spain became a UEFA Pro. Before was level 3 was enough. Now, okay, they want to reduce the number of people with this UEFA Pro holder, that is one of the most important license as a coach in the world. So they want to give it the good importance that is having. For me, I'm really proud to having this kind of license, because I know it's really difficult to have.
And also, after your time in Korea with Valencia, about a year after you left Korea, you returned to Spain, and you began working in women's football at Levante. For our viewers who aren't very familiar with women's football in Spain, I mean, I guess more people are now because Spain won the World Cup at the Women's World Cup. But you coached Levante's women's side at a time when they were one of the top 3 best teams in Spain.
But
How did
that's-
this
that's-
opportunity come for you? And what made you decide that you want to take the challenge on coaching in women's football?
Because as I told, I'm a coach. So for me, I have no problem in coaching in Korea, in Africa, in Egypt, boys or girls. For me, it's football. So I have the opportunity. The opportunity came because the secretary of the Levante team was one of my students, and he proposed me to the Levante direction to say, okay, he was my professor. I think is going to be a good coach for the team. They made me an interview, and I say, of course, yes. But this moment when I take the team, because they have to fire the head coach, they finished the season in 8th place. The Levante was not in that good situation that they are now, and we have a good season later because we finished 3rd in the league after AT Madrid, Barcelona, strong teams. We even managed to have a draw to earn a draw in Barcelona. This is really, really difficult. So it was a really good experience for me. And now in the World Cup, Ivana, who was the captain, was with me in Levante. Ona Badle was with me. Eva Navarro. So I have different Claudia Zornoza. I have some players that I was really lucky to have them on my side in the team. So of course was a big experience for me. And women's football in Spain is really important. We go to San Mamés with 33,000 people, or Valencia or Levante stadiums with we managed to win the derby for the first time in the history against Valencia. We never win in Mestalla as a Levante team, and we could win 1-3 there. So was also a big success for the team. But also when I returned to Korea with Valencia, I returned again to Korea with DB7 with David Villa to make an academy there, because I have good relationship with the academy of David Villa and with himself, and we start working now in Spain with different clubs, and that's all. For me was experience. After I finished the Valencia with Levante, COVID hit Spain, so I was at home, no coaching, only in the university. Then the federation contacted me to hire me in the federation, and after the opportunity of India came, and I returned coaching, this time first division football men in India. So as I told you, in coach, I can have no problem in coaching in different countries or different people or boys or girls, no problem.